Hi, I'm Jan Doyle. Welcome to Wyse Talk. We're going to have a phenomenal show today. I've been having a lot of fun talking to her before the program. I'd like you to welcome Padma, an outstanding photographer to today's show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. And what is your whole name? Because I can't pronounce your last name.
Oh, my name is Padma Inguva.
See, I knew I couldn't pronounce it. I had been working on it and I had been failing, so I thought I'd let you do it.
No problem.
So now I understand you're coming to the New Haven Camera Club this year to give a talk. What is your talk on?
My topic is photographing flowers.
Well, that's interesting, and it's also amazing. We have an example of the work you do right here. And I'd just like to comment that anybody can come to the New Haven Camera Club at no charge because our programs are open to the public, and the only reason you would want to join is if you wanted to do competing or go on our field trips and things like that. But if people see this program and want to enjoy watching you live, I'm encouraging them to come to the New Haven Camera Club. So now, let me know, how did you start getting interested in shooting?
Well, that goes back even before I started shooting. My love for flowers is from my childhood, where my father used to water the plants along four of our kids, and that's the only time that we used to spend together, like 2-3 hours every evening.
Wow.
And he had like a huge garden with lots of fruiting trees. And then when I grew up and had my own garden, I had lots of flowering shrubs and plants. And I wanted to photograph my garden to keep it more permanent. So
well, that's a very special memory to have with your father at that time, and just to remember that. I know I remember my father used to grow strawberries, and we used to go pick strawberries, and it just resonates with you for your whole life.
Yep.
So you started growing your own flowers at your own home, and then what was the next step?
Well, so I had lots and lots of varieties of roses and clematis and all kinds of perennials that I had, and I wanted to keep a catalog of them. So I bought a camera and I started photographing my garden. And
well, let's look at some of your pictures
Sure.
that you photographed without any real instruction.
Exactly.
So the first one that's going to be coming up on the monitor, what is this?
This is wisteria, and if you see how abundant the flowers are, it's growing all over my fence and the side of my house. And I was just taking a picture of it. I did not know anything about aperture or shutter speed or anything at that point, so I was just pointing and shooting.
Yeah, point and shoot, and you were just recording.
Yes.
So the next image that we're going to see is...
That's a clematis, and another vine that grows on the fence outside of my house. And again, if you see that, I was just trying to catalog the flowers.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's how a lot of hobbies start out, and I think we have one more.
Those are the crocuses, and these flowers come up every spring right after like February, March. And again, I was shooting from the top. I did not know anything about, I have to be at the eye level and all that. So these 3 pictures will show you how I got started. And then...
Well, and that's a very traditional way of getting started. My mic just fell, so I'm just going to fix that for a half a second.
Sure.
And it fell. Let me just go like this. So tell me what made you make the transition from photographing your flowers, cataloging, to going into becoming more artistic?
Well, once I photographed all my flowers, pretty much like a couple hundred of them, and then I realized that okay, so I'm just looking at them as they are, but can I make them look better? Because in my own mind's eye, they look a lot better, a lot prettier, a lot interesting than
more
what I'm showing.
impressionistic.
Exactly.
Yes.
So then I started studying, like what's out there, what are the other people doing about the photographs. I forgot to bring the book.
That's okay. What book was that?
So it's called Photographing Flowers by Harold Davis.
Now, how did you discover him?
Well, internet.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know what I would do without Google.
Yes.
But so I came across Harold Davis, and I was really impressed by his flowers and his work. So I went and bought the book. I read through every page at least a few times. And I discovered the selective focus, how to blur your backgrounds, and how to post-process them. And because I'm also a technical person, it was easy for me to pick up the post-processing part first than the artistic and compositional part of the photography. But I slowly started experimenting, and then I went and bought a macro lens. And then if you see my next pictures, then you can see my transition from cataloging flowers to how I made the transition into fine art.
Okay, well, let's look at one of your next images that are going to be coming on the screen. We're going to see, now this is a split image of the Wisteria, correct?
Wisteria.
Wisteria. And tell me about this image.
Now, if you see the left-hand side, you see the shrub as it is, the whole thing. And that's what you do when you're starting out, just as a snapshot. But then if you go to the left, then you can isolate the flower and then make the whole background blurry, make the subject into focus. It's called selective focus. And that's how I transitioned from just like a snapshot photographer to moving into the artist realm.
I think it's interesting the split screen does, because what everyone does the left one, and then slowly you start learning to do the right. And after we had a pre-interview on the phone, because you live in Jersey, and
right.
It was a little hard for you to come up here and do a pre-interview, but I looked up Harold Davis, and I had never heard of him before because I love photography, and I thought, what an interesting guy. Where has he been all my life?
Oh, well, he's been in California.
Well, okay, fine,
yeah.
fine. So we're going to see another image that's going to come up that is also, you started learning about, these are your pansies. And what technique does this show?
Again, the selective focus. I just wanted to highlight that you can take one flower that's in the foreground, and I sort of think the background flowers is like background dancers in a in a dance. Like if you see, there is one protagonist and then you have all the other supporting. So
what a wonderful way of looking at that. I also am seeing it as the lead singer in all the backup choruses.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, how did you achieve selective focus?
I shoot mostly with my macro lens. 90% of my pictures are done with that. So you have to isolate the subject. That means there are two ways to do that. First, you can go with the wide open aperture and also select a flower that is a little bit away from the crowd so that you can isolate, and there's a distance between the subject and the background, and shoot away, except you have to keep in mind the direction of the light and see if there are any hot spots and all that. So.
Now, also I want to just say you don't shoot on automatic then?
No, I came long ways from being in automatic mode. Mostly I shoot in aperture priority mode or manual mode.
Okay,
so.
And so the next image that we have coming up is also going to be showing selective focus. Now this is a beautiful split screen. Explain this, please.
So my style of photography, I like to say that I do more flower portraits than the wide angle scenes. Like if you give me a big garden, I never generally go for the entire garden wide angle way. I always try to isolate some interesting flowers, buds, leaves, anything that catches my eye, and I try to portray them in like a portrait.
I have to tell you, I love that expression, flower portraits.
Thank
I
you.
had never heard it before, and I really think that's a phenomenal expression. And do you think you coined that?
No, I follow a few other photographers that have done better work than me, I think. One of them is Kathleen Clemens, my inspiration. She is from New England area. And she does programs in flower portraits, and whatever I do, I think that's been done before, except I do it in my own way. I try to give it my own style, but flowers have been around for a long time.
Well, everything in this world has been done before.
Yes.
And so, but I think the twist is how you do it.
Exactly, and then how much and I enjoy doing it.
Yes. Well, I felt that on our phone conversation. I could feel that. So I just wanted to, when you do a split screen, how do you do that? Is that in the Photoshop, or is that?
So Lisa sent me the directions. So I make a canvas of 16 by 9 in Photoshop, and then I take these two images separately and drop them, and then as layers in Photoshop. And then I adjust the size of the layers so they sit on top of the black canvas.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know how you did that. I still don't know how to do the canvas, but that's okay. So now we're going to do the next set of images is you're going to be showing the parts of a flower.
That's right.
And how you do that. So we're going to go into the next image. And how do you choose the part of the flower? Or maybe I've jumped ahead.
That's also a flower portrait.
A flower portrait.
It's a water lily, and I was shooting down. It's very hard because water lilies are generally in water. So you have to literally hang over without falling into the water and then take the picture. So I really like the vibrant colors and the combinations.
You know who has good water lilies is the New York Botanical Gardens.
Oh yeah, Longwood Gardens has one.
Yes.
But this picture is taken in
Actually, I met Longwood Gardens.
Kenilworth Aquatic Gardens in Washington, D.C. is one of the best places to go to shoot water lilies and lotuses.
Now you work in Washington. I was surprised to hear that.
Yes.
And you're basically down the street from the White House.
Yes.
I found that so interesting. So we at Wyse talk at people from all over the country. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to move. What is this a picture of? Is this a portrait?
These are Gerbera daisies. So here is a tip that I would give to the viewers. Make friends with nurseries in the neighborhood, and especially the nursery owners, and approach them, ask them permission to shoot in their nursery, and then try to give them a few prints so that they appreciate. So that's what I did with one of the neighborhood nurseries in my town. And so now I have a free pass. I can go at any time, and I just make a little working area in the greenhouse in the corner, so I'm not in anybody's way. And I take these pots and then put them in there. I put a black screen, and then I shoot away, and then I put them back when I'm done. And that's how most of my images were shot, in the nurseries, in the corners, where there is less crowd.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Do you bring in lights?
I don't bring in lights. Most of them are natural light.
And the black screen, how do you set up the black screen?
So I have a black velvet cloth, and then I have some push pins. So I found a little pole or something that I find where I can put my black cloth as the background. And then generally there are shopping carts or benches or something in there in the nursery area that I can use for putting the planter.
I just met a nursery owner 2 days ago.
Okay.
I didn't know he was the owner until I started chatting with him because he had some beautiful flowers, and he said I can come down and shoot anytime. Mm-hmm. I might go after the show.
Yes, so always keep a black velvet or black felt would be good also, and you don't need as big. You probably need something like a 1 yard long, and that's it. And then push pins and some water spray bottle. That's it. You're
100 years ago, I used to be a wedding photographer.
Oh.
And we used to carry with us black polyester for the backdrop and put it on the poles and stuff. And so, but velvet or felt would be wonderful too.
Yes.
So this is beautiful. I absolutely love this.
Thank you.
And actually, I love all your work. So moving on to the next picture we're going to be putting on the monitor is going to be considered, are these going into, again, parts of the flower? Okay, this is parts of the flower.
So when I'm outside shooting, sometimes a particular petal or a stem or a leaf or something catches my eye. And I also learned that you don't have to show the entire flower to show its beauty. And sometimes the beauty is in showing half of it or partial flower and leave the imagination to the viewer. Mm-hmm. So in this case, the tulip, that's what I did. Only use the half of it. And then, in the background, there are other tulips that are providing a little blurry background to it.
And color.
Yes.
So, and the color is being picked up, is being emphasized by the foreground tulip.
That's right.
Oh, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful, and I love the green. Absolutely gorgeous.
Now, if you go into the next picture, you will see.
So the next picture.
So if you see, now in this case, this is a hibiscus, and it has a stamen that really caught my eye because the color combination, if you look at the pinks and the yellows. So instead of going for the whole flower, I went very, very close. I put my extension tubes on my macro lens.
Oh, you do have extension tubes?
Yes, yes. And because I'm like probably an inch away from this.
Do you have a rail?
I have a rail, and I also do focus stacking when it is needed sometimes. This is one of the very few times when I did the focus stacking, because the depth of field is so shallow that I had to use at least like 3 points to get this.
What I also like about this is the composition. Beginning photographers think your center of interest has to be dead center.
Yes.
And I'm noticing that this is following the rule of thirds, where it's off to the left, and you have space on the right. I like space.
The negative space actually is what gives the picture a little bit of life, in my opinion.
Yes.
It gives a little bit of dynamic nature. And also the composition, like you said, when I was starting out, everything was in dead center for me. And now it became a second nature for me, to just, I don't even have to think twice. It automatically is off center for me. It doesn't. It's generally not exactly in 1/3, but shifts a little bit, but it's off center.
Yes, it is off center. It's beautiful. I love the peachiness. I love this image.
Thank you.
It almost looks like watermelon, actually.
Yes.
All right, the next image that we're going to be seeing. Oh, this is just gorgeous.
This is the begonia flower. Now, if you see how the ruffled the petals, that caught my attention. And so, in this case, what I did was I shot the entire flower at 2.8, and then I also shot another frame at f5.6, and then I combined them in Photoshop to have a little bit of sharpness in the petal, but the background still stayed the same from the 2.8. So I call that aperture blending. That I coined.
I like that.
Thank you.
I'm going to I love that. I'm going to let the audience know that you're in IT.
Yes.
So you have a little into this,
Yes.
Yes. So
I am proud of my Photoshop skills. So one of the lectures that Kathleen Clemens gave very early on, back in 2012, when I picked up my camera, is that I am giving you the freedom to express yourself in Photoshop or in camera or anywhere. I really liked it. At that point, I was only like 3 months or 4 months into photography, and I was thinking that if you don't get right in camera, then you're not a good photographer. Then once I heard that, I literally took it to my heart. And then I said, okay, I'll have my freedom, artistic freedom, that's what she calls it. So, and then I improved my Photoshop skills, and I think that I'm actually a better photographer because of that.
That's very
Photoshop
interesting.
skills.
That's a wonderful salute to your former teacher too.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just one phrase that just sets you on your way.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Now, we're going to be coming up to lightbox photos. Now, first of all, what is a lightbox?
So again, this is another mentor of mine, even though I didn't take any courses from him directly, but by his book, Harold Davis, he is a pioneer in lightbox photography. A lightbox is nothing but an X-ray box, where you read the slides. So it's something similar to it, except the old X-ray boxes, they have like kind of yellow cast to it. So nowadays, because of the LED lights, we can, buy the light pads. Nowadays they call it light pad.
Oh, really?
Like, drawing pad that.
Yes. So
that is so light pad or light box are synonymous.
I'm old. I'm dating myself. I didn't know the difference.
So. Yeah, so basically you arrange your flowers on a light box, and then generally I put it on the floor because I needed the height, right? So
that makes sense.
And then I go parallel with my camera, and then basically take 3 shots overexposed, +1, +2, +3. The reason why you want to overexpose is because you're shooting on the white background, and also you want the translucency of the petals to come through. So that's what I do, and then I pick one of the best of the 3, and then generally I work with that in Lightroom if I want a simple processing. But if I have the time and if I'm motivated, then I take all those 3 images into Photoshop, and then I play with that, hand painting areas from one frame, areas from the other frame, So I generally try to create like elaborate arrangements. So if you can buy a light pad online, Amazon or any place, but generally they're like small. So I got one 2 feet by 3 feet. One of my friends actually built it for me. So, and that's my life.
So you don't have to buy these. You can build them from scratch.
You can build them from scratch if you go into YouTube and then look for DIY light box, how to build it, and there are directions. Or if you contact me, I can hook you up with my friend.
What is your contact information?
I can give it to you later.
Okay.
Yes, I'll send it to you.
Okay, great. So now we're going to go look at your Lightbox creations. Now that is really incredible. Do you use a tripod?
Yes, I do.
For Lightbox photography?
Yes, I do. The reason why I use a tripod over the Lightbox is because, first of all, it gives me the time to compose. And also, suppose if I have some issue with one of the flowers, then I can leave my camera there, and then I can adjust the flower and then take the same shot again. Then, I have the same thing.
Do you have a center pole? How do you get the camera over the Lightbox?
So there are a couple of tripod brands that I would recommend. One is the Vanguard carbon fiber. I don't remember the model number, but I can give it to you so you can put it in the links. And also Manfrotto does a center column which goes horizontal. With Vanguard, you can actually go horizontal or at any angle. With the Manfrotto, you can only go horizontal. So either one of them would do. And that's also good for other kinds of photography like macro shots or anything. So, and then I leave the tripod over the Lightbox, and then I hook my camera to it. And then I start working on my arrangements, because once you start arranging the flowers on the Lightbox, they have a tendency, because they're out of water, and also you're handling them and you're trying to pry them open, so basically you're mishandling them. So the lifespan is very, very short. So I put all my setup ready to go, and then I arrange my flowers and take the shots.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to do it that way. And I think we have one more image coming up, or a couple more images on the Lightbox photo. I'm not 100% sure. Yes. Now, again, you have a split screen. Explain this, please.
So now you see there are irises on the left-hand side. So there is another tip that I would give. Probably I shouldn't admit on the TV here, but so I go around the neighborhood and then I see if anybody has flowers growing out of their garden. I knock on their door and I ask them permission to shoot if I can, and sometimes I ask their permission to pick their flowers if they're okay with it. But if I see them growing outside somewhere, nobody's yard, I would just go pick them. I have clippers in my car all the time, just for that.
Do you have a van? Because we were talking about what you carry.
I don't have a white van, but
okay.
But anyway, so I take them, put them on the Lightbox. When the minute I have to run back home, and then start working on the Lightbox. So that's the left hand. The right hand was gladioli. I just bought them in ShopRite for like $10
yes,
too.
Yes,
so,
yes.
And it's a lot of fun.
I agree, and it's fun for me talking to you because you make me excited about going and shooting.
Yes.
I wish you didn't live so far away. You live 3 hours away from me. Have you considered moving to Connecticut?
Oh, well, I work in DC. Remember, every week I have to go to DC.
I don't care about your troubles. So now we're going to talk about dramatic lighting. We have some images about dramatic lighting. That is dramatic.
So this actually is not done in the studio like people assume.
I did assume.
Yeah, this is in Longwood Gardens, and it's in the greenhouse in the conservatory. And whenever I go anywhere, especially for flowers, I try to go with at least a friend, or my son used to accompany me for most last 3-4 years. Now he thinks he's too grown up and he doesn't go anywhere with me anymore. But so basically they are there to serve me, holding my black cloth.
I have to tell you, we only have about 5 minutes left.
Sure.
And so we're going to have to go into textures. Show one of your images on textures. And so you can tell me, oh my God.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Look at oh my God. So if I can stop talking, tell me about this image.
Okay, so the one on the left-hand side is an iris that I created of my own texture by picking colors from the iris. And there is a whole different discussion on how to create your own texture, but you can do it. And on the right-hand side, so whenever I buy flowers or from my garden, I try to put them in vases and just try to enjoy them. And then I have a white piano right next to a window, so I have like white on white background built in. So I just put everything and then try to take pictures of it. And then later I go into Photoshop and then play with the textures.
Very nice. And I want to just make sure we get to your post-processing one. You have one on multiple exposures. I think it's around number 19 or so, the image.
So this is one technique that I'm really proud of, because a lot of people are doing for multiple exposures in camera, and I try to do that, and it works okay. But I have a friend who has a kind of vertigo issue that she said that makes me dizzy straight out of camera. So she asked me if I can make one point in the picture that is more stable, according to her, and so that she doesn't throw up.
Mm-hmm.
So
that would be a good thing.
So what I did was, so I used my Canon camera, which can do multiple exposures, and then also take a straight shot. Again, take them into Photoshop and take the part that I would like to have tack sharp into a layer mask, and then overlay on top of my multiple exposure picture.
We only have a minute or two left, and so I just want to, first of all, thank you so much for coming. I want to encourage everybody to go to the New Haven Camera Club and see you speak free, because I know I'm going to be there. And I also want to tell people, if you have any questions that you'd like to direct to me, you can contact me at jmdteach, excuse me, jmdteach@comcast.net, or you can always contact the studio and they can get in touch with me. Thank you so, so much. This was an absolutely wonderful program.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you soon at the New Haven Camera Club.
Sure, and thank you for having me.